Okay, you gotta do that one more time. Let me grab a seat for you guys because it has been a minute. How are you guys? It has been a long time. And I have to say, this is a life update because it has been 5 years. And for those who have been following the channel, let's dive into the life update, okay? So first I want to say, welcome back to the channel. My name is Daniela Tabois, and this is House of Tabois. Listen, I don't even know how to do videos anymore. It's been a while. Oh my goodness, how you guys are doing? I'm so excited to give you guys this update. This update has been long overdue. I wanted to also, I almost slipped over that chair, on the chair. I wanted to also welcome all the new subscribers on the channel. I had posted a recent short showcasing my old designs that I didn't sell, and it did pretty good. So I wanted to welcome you guys here on this channel and basically share my story. Now, for my longtime OG viewers, you know this journey has been one crazy one. And I want to say that for the past year, the reason why I haven't been posting videos is because I ended up in a shelter. And so now I'm out and I finally got to the destination that I've been praying for years. And it is, I'm not saying life-changing, but it is so good to actually live this dream or goal of mine. So first off, I want to bring it back to COVID. Actually, it was pre-COVID. I'm gonna do a quick recap because I really don't want to get into too much of the details, but basically for the past 5 years, I was homeless. And the type of homeless that I was is more like I didn't have a permanent address. I tried my best to be stabilized, but after I lost my house, me and my mother ended up going into hotel living, and that was in 2019. And so from that point, we were basically looking for an apartment just to get back on our feet and everything like that. And for some reason, it just didn't happen. So in 2019, November, we basically had to leave our home. The foreclosure happened earlier that year in February, so we had made an incentive with the owner to allow us to have more time so we can get our stuff together and also see if we can find an apartment. And I was basically struggling. My mother was not doing so well. I think she had some like medical issues at the time. I don't remember exactly, but we were very like, our financial needs were very like sparse, like really tough. So anyway, from November 2019, I came online to share you guys that I wasn't gonna be, living at the same place I was, because, as soon as you guys see a different background, you're gonna, kind of wonder what's going on, what's happening. And so, but I still want to continue to keep designing. So we ended up planning to go into a hotel to see if we can somehow make this apartment come to fruition. And we started in 2019. I told you guys, made a video, told you guys about that. And a lot of you guys helped me and my mother, stay on afloat. So from December of 2019, basically we still living in a hotel now, and things are getting pricey because it's the holiday season. But little did we know that COVID was coming around. I remember being in a hotel towards New Year's Eve, and there were like guests that would stay in the hotel, and they had like this chronic cough that was non-stop. And I remember getting sick, And I said I had to get myself out of this hotel because if I stay here any longer, I'm gonna really need to go to the hospital, or, you know, other things might have happened. So we ended up going to another hotel, and then that's when everything went cold. So COVID was announced by March. We heard about it in February of 2020, and then by March of 2020, that's when everything started shut down. So everybody had to be quarantined into their house, and we, with the bless of God, we basically had to live in the hotel. And mind you, we had to pay every night at that hotel. I cannot tell you how difficult that was in the very beginning. And so I had to figure out, like, how can I make this work? My mother was, you know, had little bit to no income coming in. So whatever we was making, whatever I was making, that was what we used to pay for the hotel. I borrowed from friends. And my father also helped me out as well for the hotel stays. He was living with his sister at the time, so he didn't have any place to house us. So we basically was winging it for a year and a half during COVID. And I kid you not, that was the most stressful, hardest thing, because you don't know what was going to happen. We basically was quarantined, the hotel completely shut down, and I feel like it was because of us paying every single day that they were allowing us to stay, because it's steady income, something is coming in. But majority of the hotels was completely empty. Nobody was traveling anymore. Everybody stayed home, locked down, and all that stuff. And so mask was a situation that was happening, and I donated some masks. I came online and told you guys that I was making masks, but I also donated some to like nursing homes and for the first responders and stuff like that. And then eventually I came online and started to sell masks. And if it wasn't for those masks, I don't know where we would have been, because I was making masks like crazy, and that is how it supported us during that whole time in that hotel for a year and a half. Pre-COVID, we got by, but that mask saved my life, and I was on it. So from then on, after about a year and a half, I was a little bit like anxious. I did not want to be there anymore. I was still house hunting. I was trying to see if I can get another way of income to bring up my income, so that way I can be qualified for an apartment or whatever. And still it was difficult. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing. This is working for me, so I'm going to keep on. Until eventually I got so tired of the hotel style living. You know, during COVID, a lot of people was in their houses being all anxious, so they would come to hotels and have parties. There was one time we had an incident where there was a fire that happened like 3 o'clock in the morning. There was a party next door to us, and I guess there was a fight or a tussle, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 knock on our door. You got to evacuate because there's a fire in the next room. Like things like that. And just people would try to escape their, you know, quarantine situation just to come to the hotel to do foodie wang stuff. And that was another situation that was challenging as well, because you want to go to sleep and here these people are just making ruckus. So anyway, eventually I said I'm tired of the hotel. There was so many rules that you had to do after a certain time. They wanted you to move rooms and this and that, and I get it, because a lot of deep cleaning and a lot of stuff like that needed to happen. But majority of the hotel was completely empty. So, you know, but rules are rules, whatever. But eventually I was like, okay, I'm tired. In between that, I was also helping my father out. He's very elderly. He was in his 80. I think at the time he was like 82, 81 years old, and he was living with his sister. So during quarantine, they were living together. She ended up passing away, and then he was in the house by himself. And so I would frequently go there just to check in on him. Whenever he had some issues, he would call me, and I would just go, you know, to his house to help him and stuff like that. And between that and trying to do my business and all this stuff, it was just so much on me. And I'm just trying to figure out my way so I can just excel and be stable, because that's my main priority, was to get stable. And to deal with all of that, it was a lot. And so one time there was an incident that happened at his house where I think he was cooking something overnight, and then a fire might have broke out or something happened with the pot on the stove. And then the next time I got there, the next day when I got there, the owners of the house was like, oh my gosh, we don't want our house to be burnt down. We feel sad that, you know, he's alone here and this and that, whatever. And I had alerted the owner, the landlord at the house at the time, that, you know, we were coming to help him. You know, we're not gonna allow him to stay here by himself. He said, yeah, he can't stay here by himself like this. You know, we don't want to get another incident in situations like that. And so in my heart, I really didn't want to go live in that house because I just felt like it was kind of hostile. But being in the hotel for so long, I was just like, this is not it. Like, eventually when the mask stops, you know, selling, I'm gonna need to go back to designing again. And since I can't design the way I would like to comfortably, I need a home. And so, you know, he stayed in the house for about a year, and I was still making frequent, you know, visits to his house to make sure he was good and everything like that. But I always alerted, but every time I spoke to the landlord there, they was like, when are you guys coming? When are you guys this? When are you guys that? And I said, you know, we're gonna come soon, but really I didn't want to be there. So eventually when, you know, cash started to, you know, go low, and I'm like, I really don't want to be here anymore, I really considered moving with my father. So he called me one time. I think we had to go to the hospital because he was having like nosebleeds or something like that. And then he was like, I really need help and this and that. And I said, you know, I guess, you know, we can go and stay with him to help him out until we find our own place. And I told him that, you know, I'm going to have my mother with me. So, you know, you got to take us as a package. And so he said, okay, that's fine. You know, we ended up going there a year later. He did tell me, he said, when you get here, the landlord is very rude. And I said, it can't be that bad. You know, we've been in bad situations already. It can't be that bad. I kid you not, when we got into that house, everything turned upside down. Or apparently the landlord wasn't aware that we were coming to the apartment. All of a sudden, she increased the rent, and she tormented us for the whole entire lease. She was asking, she had put on the lease certain things that she didn't want to be done. We didn't care for it because basically that's not our style anyway, so that didn't phase us anything like that. She increased the rent immediately as soon as we walked in there, and we gave it to her with no problems. We paid her everything that she wanted. We were basically quiet tenants. But this landlord was a landlord from hell. It was one of those landlords that basically doesn't like us. So I'm going to do everything I can to get them to eventually leave. So she made so much noise. She was always yelling, very toxic environment. I remember when I was trying to record videos, I would have to plan times where she wasn't home. Maybe her husband is outside doing outside work and stuff like that. She also had family in the basement where she was caring for. And I can't tell you, this lady was a control freak. So she would go in and act like a barbarian, demanding to enter apartments. Into the apartment whenever she wanted to. Whenever I had a complaint about something that's happening, I would inform the husband to tell her. Apparently, husband doesn't communicate with his wife or whatever the case may be. One day she comes in and wanted to barge into the apartment. I'm like, you can't do that. You have to let me know when you're available so I can make sure that people are here or not here, that you can access certain things. It didn't matter to her. She felt it was her house. She can do whatever she want to do. Even if you're paying, you don't have a say so. It's my way or the highway type of thing. And whenever I had to ask her to do certain things or ask her husband to do certain things, they felt it was a burden. Like, for instance, there was no mailbox for our part of the apartment part of the house. So the house is like a 2-family home, and she had a basement as well. So she had only one mailbox for everybody in the house. So since you have 2 separate apartments, it's right for you to have 2 separate mailboxes. She also had a doorbell, which was 2 doorbells. It wasn't even identified what apartment is this. So whoever comes to the house, she had visitors. We never had any visitors. And so whenever she had her visitors, they would ring both bells and waking us up or disturbing us for her company. And so that was another issue when I told them to listen, you have to mark down each of the apartments to let people know that, hey, this is the apartment that you're coming to visit, you don't need to bring people. But she didn't care. She was like, oh, I'm ruining their lives. The husband definitely told me that I'm ruining their lives for putting basic things in place. Even the basic things was a big deal. You asked to fix a toilet, problems. Always an argument. She always come in barging with arguments and all that stuff. It caused so much friction in this house that it would disturb our house. Whenever we had dinner, it would cause friction inside the house. I had difficulties to even produce content, and this was depressing. So eventually the year came up and she wanted us to leave. And I was completely like, excuse me, after you ran havoc for a year paying you, now you want us to leave. And so now my father is like really old. He's getting, sick. And we can't just throw him into any apartment because it has to be able to be fit for him and his needs. So it's going to take me time to find one that would have worked. But instead, we ended up going to court and I think the court had to reward us some incentives to allow us to put some monies together to see if we can get out first month, second months, and rent for when we find something. And if we ended up staying there, we had to continue to pay her. So we ended up going to court about a whole year. I still couldn't find anything. Now my father's progressively getting sick. And then eventually towards the end of that whole year, they gave us a stipulation, and I said, you know what, I'm done. We're gonna go and see if we can do the hotel situation again. So back to being unstable, and I felt like this is just like depressing. And I'll pray about this, and I'm just like, why is this happening? Because I'm just like, I'm doing everything I can. I'm visualizing these things, and this is what I'm experiencing. And so now we end up leaving her house, and we decided to go into hotels living again. And now this time is different from COVID because everything is back. Now, at the time that we left, it was the beginning of 2024 in January. And so everything is down. So we was able to stay. My mother had income. My income kind of slowed down because, again, I work from home. So a lot of the stuff that I was doing was, a lot of table work. But I still managed with the orders that I was receiving. So I still tried to do some of that in the hotel. So we lasted about maybe 6 to 7 months in the hotel, and I couldn't do it anymore. So we ended up going to the shelter. This was the lowest point of my life in 2024 because here I am seeing myself doing everything, pursuing a dream, and this is the outcome that I'm, receiving. And so I'm like, what do I do now? I did not feel like coming online to tell you guys, I'm not going to be here anymore. I'm going to be just going into the shelter. And I just didn't want to go through the whole process again and show that journey, because I did that in the hotel, and I just felt like, again, I really don't. And then when I got into the shelter, basically you can't do anything. So there's no sewing, there's no this, you can't bring nothing. They basically want you to live off of them. They really stop you. Unless you go outside and find work and work a job out there. And even that, they don't want you to make a certain amount of income. They don't want you, there's certain times that you have to get this passed and that, a whole bunch of rules. So they kind of cripple you in a way just for you to get a bed. And my mother didn't even want to go into that, but we had no choice. It was very depressing. When we first got there, it was in August of 2024, but I was still getting some orders. So that's when I decided to outsource my work to someone else and have them sew it. And I was able to find a sample room. They were handling all my orders. Whenever I got it, I basically had them do it. I also did all my patterns. I found a co-working space for designers and stuff like that, so I can basically do my work in there. So that was some type of way of me still doing my work, even though the situation was unfortunate. And so looking back at this now, I was there for just about a year, 13 months exact, and it was an experience. I had a lot of crash outs, but it wasn't so bad as I thought it would have been. The rules were kind of stupid. The system in the shelter system is really very, very stupid. It's very dumb. How they handling people and certain people, they could really, really take the time to like screen each person to make sure that this person needs this and what this one needs. But since you're in shelter, they just bolt you in one thing. So we had went into family shelter, and family shelter is different from the single shelter, where you as a single would be placed in a location where you have like maybe 10 other people in one room, and you can only bring like 2 small little bags or whatever. But in true honesty, these people, that's not how they live in there. When you get in there, it's a whole different game. You'll be surprised at how people are handling it. There's people in there for years. And I'm just like, how can you live in this mindset and stay in this environment that they on purposely do to create hostile situations just for you to get out? And so when we got in there, we were sent to family. They basically asked for your whole name. It's like you hand over your whole life to these people, because they asked for all kinds of paperwork, which I was surprised, because I'm here looking for a bed and you asking for my life just for a bed. And if you're not qualified, they're not accepting you. You know that? They do not accept you. And also they do call to find out where have you been for the past year before they even accept you, because they try to pay off the person who you was with before so they can stay, because they don't want you in there. But once you get in there, they have like certain programs to help you get back on your feet. And I didn't know any of those things anyway, because I didn't even know, because I'm not a person to be looking for like, you know, incentives or things to help you if you're in trouble or need. I usually try to figure it out on my own. But once you get in there, they try to help you to get you back into the community again. So they have like subsidies to help you subsidize your income, so that way you can get into an apartment and so on and so forth. So we had to get checked in. They sent us to a temporary shelter. From there, you have to wait a certain amount of time before they can locate you to your permanent shelter. Now, once you get to your permanent shelter, that's when you get a whole caseworker to help you get relocated back into the community with an apartment. So then the shelter that they sent us to loved the neighborhood, but didn't like the environment in the shelter. So the shelter was very toxic. And I think that's because of the director who runs the shelter there. And I instantly knew that it wasn't for me, that place. So the whole entire time, they basically BS us around, didn't give us what we needed to get. And once they finally gave us something, it wasn't fit to our needs. And they basically, you know, try to penalize us for not accepting what they wanted to give us. And I don't care what nobody says. Even if you are homeless, you still have options. You still have a choice. And the reason why I say that is because if you are willing to help somebody and you want them to be in the best position to succeed, It's best for you to give them what they need so they can feel good about it than forcing them into something or giving them something that will kind of get them, you know, upset. The fact that, hey, I'm trying to better myself, but I'm getting something that really makes me not feel good to do better. And so sometimes you do have to put those feelings aside to do what you need to do, but sometimes those things that you opt to take kind of hinders you instead of taking something that would benefit you. So because I denied something that I did not feel like it was good for us, the director basically put a hit out on me, basically. And we chucked it until we basically got transferred to another location, and that location was much better. Flip side, we was there for about 9 months, and that environment was more supportive than where we had came from. They basically listened to us. They was willing to help, even though they gave us pushback, because at the end of the day, their job is to put you into housing. And so I told them what we needed, and this is the best that we can, you know, we want for us, if they can, you know, somehow. So eventually in the middle they met, and this is how I ended up in this beautiful apartment. And I tell you, it was a journey. I cannot tell you this. We was put into a tiny room, and this room just could fit only 2 beds, and maybe 3 people could probably stand in the room because it was so tiny. And now we are truly blessed with this beautiful apartment that's spacious. And so now looking back, it wasn't too bad. My shelter experience is not that bad. It's just the tactics that they use on people to really get them out of there, and it's unnecessary. Just that. And then you have, you know, some characters, okay? Some characters in this place that it's like, really, like, why are you doing things like this? And so when you in an environment like that, it makes you kind of depressed. And some days I was depressed because I couldn't do anything, and I'm sitting here trying to find something that's positive and, you know, keep my mind right. But if you stay in an environment like this, it's really truly depressing. The location of where this shelter was, the area was full of drug users. Addicts everywhere you turn. It was an addict doing something. They were bent over, people hanging out, just nothingness. Like, the neighborhood did not make you want to, you know, be at your best. And if you do, you know, you'll stick out. And I'm not saying I don't, you know, that stops me, because I'm gonna still be me, you know, at the end of the day. I'm gonna still be me. But to wake up every day to see this is just disheartening. It doesn't benefit me at all. And here I am trying to strive to be better, and then you seeing all of this. And so to fight through all of that, it was a lot. It was a lot. And I prayed every day. I'm still praying now. I basically worked on my mindset to look things differently, look at a different perspective at everything. You know, look back at what happened. Maybe how I was thinking is what caused this, but at the end of the day, this is my story. And sorry guys, my camera died. My camera died, y'all. But anyway, as I was saying, it wasn't that bad. The experience wasn't that bad. I had a warm bed. I had a bed. We was able to eat every single day. So we had our necessities. Necessities. We had our necessities. So that was what was most important. If you or anybody out here who is dealing with homelessness, I pray for you. You hold a part of me in my heart, because I know how it feels to not have a home. Like, the home is basically everything, and having stability is something that everybody should have. Everybody should be stable. And so to be dealing with this, you are strong, you are capable, and it's just temporary. Because I thought that my whole life was over. I really did in some days. But there were some days, there were some good days, and I was able to, make good relations with the people in there as well, the staff people. It wasn't too bad for the situation at hand. So whatever situation you're dealing with right now is only temporary. I highly recommend you to stay focused on the actual goal at hand than seeing what's happening in reality. Because I know you're in it, but when you actually in it, you have to stay focused on why and what is it that you truly want. Because if you don't, this is dark. Because if you don't, it will become hard. If you start to accept your surroundings, you will deepen yourself into that surrounding. So I highly suggest you hold on, pray about it, focus on exactly what is it that you want. And then one day things are going to unlock. I don't know. God only knows when, and he makes those movements, but you have to stay faithful to him. People say, believe in yourself, and it is true. Like, it's not even, and I'm sitting here telling you, like, it's not just believe in yourself, or believe in yourself like a cliche. No. You got to actually believe it. Even if it's like really dire bad, like you have to believe it. Like no, even if they gaslight you, even if they lie, even if the world's showing you something else, no, that's not possible, you have to keep on drilling it. No, this is it in your mind. Even if you're not saying it out loud, you got to say it in your mind. Because if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would be here. I was sitting here, they were telling me no's and all that stuff. I said nope. Even if I sometimes say yes and I would turn back, no, until it was a yes. And we waited till it said yes. And when it did, everything worked. I did everything I could before, and I realized that I was doing too much. Let me chill out. Let me use this time to work on me, on my mind. Let's not push too much effort into this. Let's do what we can for the day, being presently right now. And then and I let God handle it. And he sure did. I would never in my life have I ever thought of me ending up in a shelter. Me? So I had to humble myself, because God said, this is my story that you're going to be telling the world. And this journey has been one crazy one. So now I am stable, thanks to God, Lord Jesus Christ. You blessed. I was blessed in the midst of all of that. I was blessed out of it. I was blessed in it. I was blessed throughout everything in this journey. So if you are going through it, please pray. I'm telling you, please pray. Pray about it and hold on. Do not give up. Do not give in. Stay firm. I'm telling you, stay firm. So now we are here in the apartment. I'm excited to, get things back into, designing again. I have stuff I want to accomplish, but this time it's going to be more intentional. And so this is a whole new journey. I hope that you guys follow this new chapter of my life. And I'm building my brand. It has been 19 years, and I don't know how this 19 years has happened. It went by like this. I remember I was being impatient, and look how quickly that is. And that's because I was basically living life. I remember someone commented saying, back in the day when they used to watch my channel, and I'm just like, back in the day? It's been that long? Like, I'm still living this. And I'm just like, yo, when I'm looking back, I'm pretty sure if I look back at my videos, I'm like, yeah, that's back in the day, because I have grown so much. I'm excited for this now. I'm still working on my mind, myself, and I'm looking forward to seeing where I go in the next 5 years. And I'm gonna build this brand. I'm gonna have it. I know I'm gonna have it now. So yeah, just follow this channel. Thank you for subscribing. You can leave your comments down below. Anybody who's going through once again, stay faithful, believe, and don't give in. And maybe I'll continue to talk about the experience in the shelter. There was a lot of stuff that has happened when I was in there. Just leave the comments down below. It's going to be more vlog style, very intentional type of videos, and I'm looking forward to be consistent and stay consistent. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.